are now listening to the JohnnyCast Sports Show, episode number 8. It's a special edition episode for the 2023 New York Yankees baseball season. We are less than a day away. We're less than 24 hours from opening day. I cannot believe how quick it's gone. I mean, it just feels like yesterday this team was getting embarrassed and run out of town by the Houston Astros. But apparently there's a new season tomorrow, and I'm super excited about it. We got some concerns as well. I'm going to give my predictions on the year and some other thoughts. Just before we get into it, I want to give a quick disclaimer. I'm not feeling the greatest. I don't know if it's a sinus infection or if it's some type of allergy situation, but bottom line is, if you're watching on YouTube, I probably still look as good as I usually do, but unfortunately, the audio might be a little lacking. I'm going to try to project my voice and give you as much energy as I can. Now, let's get right into it. So they're calling it Volpening Day. Now, I don't even hate that. I mean, it's a little corny, but at the same time, this is a huge day for the Yankee fan, for the Yankees organization, for really everyone, because this is one of the most highly anticipated prospects we've had in the system in a very long time, okay? And he's an Italian-American kid from New Jersey, and he's the starting shortstop now for the New York Yankees. Pretty insane. Now, if I had anything bad to say about him, I would honestly just say that seeing him wear that 77 on his back during spring just annoyed me. In theory, on paper, 77 would be an amazing Yankees number, right? You got Judge with the double nines, double sevens is double Mickey Mantles, but every time I see the 77, I just think of headaches and Air Jordan 1 cleats and bad attitudes and just Clint Frazier. And it just rubs me the wrong way. So I'm so happy to have heard that he's now number 11, which is nice. You get down there in the almost single digits range, which we know are historic. When I think of 11, a little bit of Chuck Knobloch, but really I'm thinking Gary Sheffield, and then Brett Gardner, let's call it what it is, wore that jersey for a little too long. But I'm super excited. Now, he's going by Volpe. I originally was saying Volpe for a while because, again, as someone with an Italian heritage, I feel like it's Volpe, but I'm not going to tell another man how to say his last name. So, again, it's Volpe. So, I don't know. I'm just super excited. I mean, one thing I'll say is now this age, his year, I feel like is younger than me. I've never felt like athletes are that much younger than me. Right now, I'm 27, which means pretty much half the rosters in professional sports are older, half are younger, but even guys who are like 23 and 24, they don't even really look younger, really, and I don't think they act younger. So I kind of feel like I'm the same age. For some reason, I just feel like I can just feel the vibe. I feel like Anthony Volpe is younger than me, which for jersey getting purposes is kind of an issue. Not that I'm this big jersey guy, but if I ever was to get one, now I'm getting to the age where it's like, do I want to wear a younger guy's jersey on my back? It's probably not, but I don't even know. I think the last couple of jerseys I've gotten were Gio Urshela, who's older than me, DJ, who's older than me, Johnny Loizaga, who's younger than me. But again, he's a gangster, so he's definitely that doesn't count. And then a couple of Luke Voigt. So it was a bittersweet thing for me because, yeah, you bring up Volpe and it's super exciting, and he's going to inject some new blood into this lineup, into this just everything about this roster, but they're bringing down Peraza, which I don't like. I really don't like that. Now, I know he hit 190 during spring, and he didn't have the most impressive spring, but at the same time, this was a guy you had enough confidence in where you threw him in the ball game to start in the ALCS. And I know you were desperate if you're the Yankees at that point, but at the same time, you got to believe in him a little bit. He showed incredible poise in that series. He didn't look like a rookie, and his glove is incredible. I would be starting this year off trimming the fat, and I've said this many times, I'd put Peraza at short because he's the better fielder. I put Volpe at second, and I would trade Glaber. I really would. Then you throw DJ at third, bench Donaldson, and cut your losses. I just think that would be amazing. I'm all for Cabrera, as well, though Cabrera being the left fielder, by the way, and I'll get to that later. But it was just bittersweet to me, and it just reminds me that this organization can just never do anything perfectly right. Even a day like yesterday or a couple days ago, when they say to everyone and they announce that Volpe is going to make the roster, be the starting shortstop, there's still got to be some type of hang-up, which annoys me. But listen, it is what it is. I mean, that's really all I got to say about Anthony Volpe. It's going to speak for itself. We're going to see how he does. But the issue that I'm going to have is if they kind of give him a short leash. I want him to be able to play, relax, and play. If he goes 0 for 50, that's a different story. But let the man play a little bit. Let him find his way. I'm sure he won't have any problem. He seems like he's succeeded in every level he's played in. And that's really all I got to say about Anthony Volpe. I'm super excited. You have Jeter giving the blessing as well, which I thought was cool. And I'll say a quick thing about Derek Jeter. I'm getting so sick and tired of, especially on TikTok, because TikTok is just the app for know-it-alls. Whenever you see a Derek Jeter clip, it's just filled in the comment section with like 18 to 20-year-old know-it-all baseball experts who probably got a subscription to The Athletic a week ago, right? And they have a Twitter, so they look at a Ken Rosenthal tweet or some analytics tweet, and they go, Derek Jeter sucked. Derek Jeter's overrated. Derek Jeter has no range. All this like cookie cutter hater garbage, okay? You've never watched him play a day in your life, okay? Also, I understand now when people are like older guys get annoyed when people talk shit about like Larry Bird or something. This is the same shit. It's like Derek Jeter not only is a first ballot Hall of Famer with only one vote off of a perfect ballot. This is a guy who is a 5-time world champion. He's the absolute leader of probably the best franchise dynasty in the last pretty much ever in baseball. One of the best dynasties in baseball history. He did everything he did in the steroid era without a single ounce of juice, apparently. Okay, he hit 310. The guy had 3,000 hits. He has numerous, just unbelievable difference-making clutch moments in the playoffs. And he's just a boss. He's a Don. He's the captain. How could you ever say this man is overrated or hate on him? It's just stupidity. It's just absolute stupidity. And it's just sad because I'm just curious in the future what athletes that we've witnessed over the last 15, 20 years who are amazing in maybe 20 years from now are going to be talked about like they weren't even good by these 10-year-old kids who have no clue what they're talking about. So that's my little Jeter rant. Now, to switch back for a second, we were talking about the jerseys, and apparently on the Michael Kay show earlier today, there was callers calling in making a genuine argument. They were really trying to make a case that Brett Gardner's number, his number 11 jersey, should be retired. Now, I even thought the Paul O'Neill jersey being retired was a little bit of a stretch. I love Paul O'Neill. He was a staple in the 90s dynasty teams. He's great in the booth. He's a big-time like Yankees family guy. That was a stretch to me. Brett Gardner's jersey being retired, it would turn into a full circus over in the Bronx, for real. I mean, whose jersey are we going to retire next? I mean, Chris Carter's from a couple years ago where he had 17 at-bats. He struck out 19 times in 17 at-bats. I mean, come on now. So I just don't get it. I know it's a money grab for the teams. They have a whole event, right? They sell the jersey. Everyone comes to the park. They make a whole day out of it. I get it. But who are these fans? I want to know where they are. I just want to look them in the eyes and just ask them if they're watching the same team that I've been watching. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And so I went back and forth with Michael Kay a little bit on Twitter. Apparently, it's not him. It's the Michael Kay Show Twitter account, which is ran by someone else. So it's not my first run-in with these radio shows. I tweeted at Craig Carton like last month. He didn't like what I said, and we kind of got into it for a second. But every time now, because I blew my opportunity last time, every time I get someone's attention from a radio talk show, I am just going to spam, just send out my podcast clips to them because you never know. Maybe one little view here from one of the execs over there and bang, Johnny's got a new television show. All right, Johnny's got a sitcom on NBC, 1993. So listen, that's what it is. So let's start getting into the season a little bit more now. I do not want to be tricked anymore, and I will not be tricked anymore. The last couple of years, especially last year, I was fully tricked. I went into last year preaching that the team had gotten worse. Cashman had did a bad job. I thought that the Donaldson deal was a horrible trade, which it turned out to be. All these things, and yet June happens, and this team is winning at an insane clip, and I was fooled. And I couldn't believe it, but I was. I was convinced this team was diffy and that they were going to go all the way. And then when it came screeching back down to earth, I mean, in August, it really woke me up, and I will not be fooled again, okay? We will not be fooled again. Shout out the Who. And also, I wanted to quickly get back to Oswald Peraza for a second because I just hope this team doesn't ruin him like they've ruined so much young talent over the last decade or so. I mean, the amount of players who have shown big league promise and then just regress and fade out because of the way that they're managed or handled, I guess, is a travesty. I mean, let's think about Miguel Andujar for a second. I mean, what a natural, amazing swing. He comes up, basically the rookie of the year, hits 290-something, almost leads the league in doubles, I believe. Just incredible. And I know the glove was not there, but the way they handled him just fucked with his confidence, and then injuries happen. Next thing you know, he doesn't have a spot on the roster, and then he's just useless, and they get rid of him for nothing. Clint Frazier, top prospect. When he comes up, he was ripping the seams off the ball. He looked amazing, bat speed, the whole nine. And then again, you're not letting him play. He would be hitting 300 up in the big leagues, and then you basically send him back down. And then obviously he mentally checked out. And now, again, you got nothing for him. Even guys who did produce, like Gary Sanchez in a big way. I mean, Gary early on showed he could have been a guy maybe who hit 340 bombs certain years as a catcher in the MLB. That's a rarity of the highest order. And I don't know if it's his head or if it's just the Yankees, but maybe that was a different scenario. But again, regresses to nothing. Even Gleyber Torres, not the player we saw when he first came up at all. And it wasn't that the league figured him out, because there was a few years where he was a different ball player. Now he's a little nonchalant. He rolls the ball over a lot. It's just it's bonehead base running moves. I don't know what goes on with these players. And then even on a smaller regard, you have Davy Garcia. What happened to him? I haven't even heard of them. They were making Pedro Martinez comparisons. I haven't heard a thing about him. You got Greg Bird, Florial, who, I think he's going to make the roster now for opening day. He's done nothing. Maybe he's just a guy who didn't work out, but I'm getting tired of seeing him come up and not hit. It's ridiculous. And so, yeah, let's just hope that Peraza isn't ruined. And I didn't even mention Cabrera. Oswaldo Cabrera, how impressive can you be when you're called up and you're playing a position you've really never played before in big moments in the big leagues and in the playoffs? You're starting a position you never really played. I know he struggled with the bat a little bit, but he tore up spring now. The last thing that they should be doing is making him bounce around to a million different positions, trying to make him the utility guy. He needs consistent at-bats. He needs to keep his confidence high. And, he did such a great job this spring. I would hope it's going to continue. The last thing you could do is bench him for Aaron Hicks and all these guys. Play them. Bring Peraza up maybe a month or two after this when he's ready. Ship Gleyber out of here, and let's just hope that this season could be something. All right, and let's switch up gears. But before we get to opening day and my expectations for the year and stuff like that, I wanted to quickly discuss if this team has a Brian Cashman issue, if it's management, or if it's just like the training staff, if it's medical, if Steve Donahue, because this roster, half of it is on the IL, it feels like, at all times during the year for the last 5 years. It's a revolving door of injuries. You're trading for injury-prone guys, but also homegrown guys are always hurt. I'll just go on the list. You trade for Stanton, who I love. He's very clutch, but he's always hurt. His entire career has been one giant IL stint. Then you got Severino, who's become a joke at this point. It's complete, just utter, it's comedy. When I see him, I don't even know what it is at this point. Is it his lat? Is it his oblique? He's just not going to start again for this year. You can never count him in. It's always like, if he can pitch a couple games throughout the year, it's a bonus at this point. Next, you got Zach Britton. We knew his injury history when we traded for him, and yet, what do you know? His entire Yankees career basically is marred by injury. Frankie Montas, I'm not even going to get to that. What an absolute joke. Scott Efros brought a lot of young energy. He goes down very quickly with the Tommy John. Mike King was looking electric at the beginning of last year. He was done for all of last year. And again, these pitchers, even though I know you come back quick and better from Tommy John, you never know. I feel like once you get injured in a big way, you might be set up for another one. So Michael King kind of makes me nervous. Carlos Rodon, we knew his injury history, still signed him, and look what happens. He's hurt to start the year. Ben Rodford hasn't played a single, or however you say his last name, has not played a single inning for this team. Harrison Bader, we trade for while he's hurt, and now guess what? He's hurt again with a different injury to start the year. Greg Bird's entire career was marred by injury, completely ruined by it. Luke Voit, although he had some moments, and I loved Luke Voit at certain points, he couldn't stay on the field. And then, the last one, which annoys me, is Andrew Benintendi, who he played 3 games for the Yankees, and now he's on his way. You trade for him, and he's done. It's just crazy to me. And then I didn't even mention Jacoby Ellsbury, who, realistically, so we could sleep at night, he should be donating all of his MLB earnings from the Yankees. Besides, maybe a couple games he got a catcher's interference. Donate your salary, bro. It's just embarrassing. I wouldn't be able to live with that. He's making millions of dollars a year for absolutely doing nothing. He wasn't even in the ballpark half the time. So, listen, this team has some sort of issue with injuries. I can't tell if it's from Cashman's trades or from the farm system or from just the training staff in general, medical staff, but it needs to change if they're going to do anything this year. And we're already off to a bad start. Half the rotation's hurt, and this team has just gotten worse. It just has. You trade out Urshela for Donaldson. That's a downgrade. On top of that, Gleyber has regressed. I know that Gary was a disaster, but at the same time, there's absolutely zero offense coming from catcher now. Now your left field, you're kind of like, is it Cabrera or is it Hicks? So you got Hicks's dead weight still hanging around. Everyone on the pitching staff is pretty much hurt, so it's just depressing. The team has no closer. And again, I wasn't the biggest Aroldis Chapman fan 2 years ago either, but the team has no closer, and as good as Clay Holmes can be, and Wandy Peralta has been, and Johnny Loizaga has been, it's nice to have an actual closer, and I would have asked the Mets about that, but unfortunately Diaz goes down with the crazy freak injury in the WBC. But between that, having absolutely no left-handed presence for the most part in the lineup is just miserable. It's just tough. It's just a very tough sell when a lot of the guys that are going to excite you are now hurt. And again, Anthony Volpe is going to solve all this. He's going to kind of be the Band-Aid over all this, but Yeah, I mean, to have Bader out to start the year, Rodon out to start the year, and so many other guys out, the glimmer and the glitz, so to speak, of this year, at least to start, has been robbed. It's been taken away. And you think about going back to 2017 and how much hope there was. You have a team right on the precipice of being an amazing, deep, young team. And it's a shame what happened with the Houston Astros and the cheating, but who cares about that? Because the Houston Astros just absolutely smoked you in 2022. So the bottom line is, you look back at 2017 and you look at the team now, and you've done absolutely nothing. You've only gotten worse. A lot of the talent that you were excited about has failed. A lot of the high dreams and hopes and expectations have now failed. And here we are. I mean, I even remember in 2017, like Todd Frazier was the only guy who could hit in the ALCS. And We've gone by 5 years now, and really, I mean, who hit in the playoffs this year? It was like Bader and Rizzo a little bit. It's the same shit. The team hasn't changed whatsoever, and it's scary. All right, so let's break down the opening day roster and more so the lineup and the rotation, because it's just funny to me, especially the rotation. I mean, right now, as it is, the rotation is Garrett Cole, Clark Schmidt, Johnny Brito, who actually has good stuff, but I mean, come on. Johnny Brito's your 3-starter to start the year on a team that's supposed to have World Series expectations. I mean, come on. Next would be a hurt Nestor Cortez, and lastly, Domingo Germán. Now, realistically, Rodon's going to come back. I'm never counting on Sevy ever, so I'm going to even forget he exists. So we're going to talk about Cole 1, Rodon 2, Nestor 3. You're going to probably trade for some guy at the deadline who's decent. Let's hope it's much better than Frankie Montas or Sonny Gray. And then your 5th starter can be, I guess, whoever out of basically Domingo Germán, Clark Schmidt, or Johnny Brito decides to rise to the occasion. So that's your rotation. In terms of the bullpen also, it's just scary. I mean, you don't have a closer. Clay Holmes scared the shit out of me last half of last year. Now, you could say he was hurt. It looked a little mental to me. It looked a little mechanical to me. I don't trust him as a closer. I don't. So anyone can close games in April and May and June. I mean, anytime he was in a big spot in post-July, it was over. It was a wrap. He was hitting guys, automatic double machine. So I would much rather have Wandy Peralta be the closer. I think Loaizaga, who does have the best stuff of all three, I guess that's actually who knows, because Clay Holmes does have that crazy sinker, but the point I was making is that I don't think Loaizaga should be the closer. I think he's a great setup man. So I think that Wandy should, and we'll see how it's going to roll out, but I'm assuming they're going to start off with Clay Holmes as a closer and then see what happens after he blows a couple games. So that's that, okay? That's really the pitching. Now let's get to the lineup. We have DJ first, Judge is second, Rizzo Stanton in the cleanup spot, Glaber 5, and then Donaldson, Hicks, Trevino, and Volpe batting last. Now, I understand why Volpe's batting last. It makes a little bit of sense. I mean, he's a speedster, so you bat him ninth. You don't want to put too much pressure on him, having him bat leadoff. But I just have never understood batting Judge second. He's one of the best hitters in baseball, if not the best hitter. Put some more guys in front of him. It doesn't make any sense to me. Maybe it's an analytics thing, and I'm just some old school guy, but it just doesn't feel right. I understand we're dealing with some injuries here. We obviously have Bader not in the lineup for the time being, and I don't know. There's a lot of moving parts, but I mean, in my ideal world, my dream lineup, I know I already mentioned that I want Cabrera in the lineup. I don't want Hicks in the lineup. And I also, believe it or not, would hopefully have traded away Glaber already. So we have Peraza up playing short and Volpe at second, because my dream lineup right now, and I think it's a great lineup, I do, especially if Cabrera does what he has to do. I think it's a Volpe, DJ, Rizzo, Stanton. Then you got Bader in the 6th spot, Cabrera hitting 7th, Trevino 8th, and Peraza hitting 9th. I think it's a great lineup. You have guys who can get on base at the top, so Volpe and DJ. Obviously, your big boys, Judge, Rizzo, and Stanton hitting in the power slots. And then, listen, Bader is a great 6th hitter. Cabrera, you never know what you're getting with him. I mean, he tore up spring, and he looked great last year in decent moments. I mean, obviously, he's a rookie, so he's going to look a little shaky at times. But if he can give you something big, that's a great 7 hitter. You're not going to bat Trevino anywhere else but 8th. And then Peraza hitting 9th, who's probably, on paper, besides Trevino, your weakest hitter in that lineup. So that's what I like. And obviously, you'd be getting rid of Donaldson by having him sit, because you'd be having DJ play 3rd, and then Glaber would have already been traded away, which slots in that pitcher for the rotation that I mentioned to be sitting in the 4 spot or the 3 spot, depending on if you're going to put someone in front or after Nestor. And that's just kind of my plan for this year. I think that would be a great way to kind of hit the stride in maybe July, August, right around the deadline. Have that ready to go where you can have a solid lineup. Hopefully the injuries are all done. And, yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, everyone's freaking out about Josh Donaldson's new swing and how he hit a couple bombs during spring. I'll believe it when I see it. I mean, I can't even believe this with this guy. So until I see him ripping it up consistently, not a couple games here and there, I am just still fully out on Josh Donaldson. Now, a guy that I mentioned him, my X Factor guy for this year, without a doubt, is Oswaldo Cabrera. A lot of people are going to say DJ now that he's healthy, or they're going to say maybe Anthony Volpe, but you have a guy like Oswaldo Cabrera who obviously mashed during spring. 360, hit 4 bombs, switch hitter. I always complain about how this team is so right-hand heavy. Now you got a switch hitter you can put in your lineup who plays multiple positions. So a lot of question marks. People don't want to hear it, but Anthony Volpe has never played a game in the major leagues. He's still a question mark, so you could stick him at short if, God forbid, something goes wrong with that. Glaber, who everyone knows I want traded, you could stick him at second base as well. Left field, clearly, would be the obvious choice with Aaron Hicks out there. So you can play him really wherever you'd like, and on top of that, he brings a lot of, young energy to the team. If he can get off to a good start and play well, I think it's going to be a huge lift for the whole team. He's very likable in the clubhouse. He's just a fun player to root for, and I think he's gonna have a big year. So that's my pick for my X Factor of the year. And so yeah, let's flip over to Vegas and the lines and my predictions. So the line in Vegas for wins is 94.5. I like that number. This team's built for the regular season. We know that. In terms of the division situation, they're playing less teams in their division, which is huge, especially for someone in the AL East. So that'll be a big help. And do I see them winning 110 games this year and being some type of dynasty powerhouse, legendary team? No. But it would be tough for me to imagine a team like this that would lose or at least win less than 90 games. So that's kind of where I'm at. I think that Toronto is they don't scare me. So I think the Yankees win the division. And I think Tampa Bay is significantly fallen off a little bit, but you never know. Baltimore is finally making some noise, but they're not there yet, and Boston is in rebuild fully. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. In terms of where I think this team could go, I think it's going to be similar to last year. I think it's going to be a team that muscles its way through the regular season. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, there's going to be glimpses of greatness and then just complete jokes at certain points. They're probably going to play some bullshit team in the AL Central to start in the DS and win, the Twins or something. And so I see them being a very, very good chance, a very good contender to be in the ALCS. I just can't see them being the Houston Astros, barring some crazy deadline move or some crazy injury to Houston's side. But that's really my prediction. In terms of the World Series itself, I got Braves, Stros probably. I like the Phillies a lot this year as well. I think the NL East is very strong. I also do like the Padres again, and the Cardinals are sneaky this year. Make no mistake, the Cardinals are sneaky, but those are my predictions. Now, we'll do a rundown of each team or each division, I guess, and we'll kind of, especially for TikTok, it'll make a nice little clip. So let's start off with the American League. We'll start off with the AL East first, and I got the Yankees. It's not really a biased pick. I'm just not too impressed with the Jays, and the Rays are fizzling out in my mind. The Orioles are a little exciting. They're young and everything, but I just think it's not their time yet. And Boston's rebuilding. So I got the Yankees. I think they'll muscle their way through the regular season. Next, we got the AL Central, where I like the Twins a lot. I like the move, honestly, dealing away Arise for Lopez, because I think he can never have too much pitching. Arise supposedly wasn't the happiest over there, but I was too impressed with Cleveland's kind of play in the playoffs last year. I just was really blown away by it. And now they lock up Jimenez. They got some other movements going. So I like Cleveland in the AL Central. In the West, clearly it's the Houston Astros. I think that's an obvious pick. But I'm curious to see how the Angels do. That lethal lineup is amazing. But, if they don't figure out their pitching, they're not going to go anywhere. So we shall see. Now we get to the National League, where NL East-wise, it's a toss-up to me. I think all three of the top teams are very, very good. They could easily win the division. Personally, I'm going Braves because I just think that they're a little too consistent, and I just like what they got going on over there. I think that the Phillies are going to be hurt more than they think with Rhys Hoskins going down, and obviously the Mets know what they're dealing with no Diaz now. So who knows what's going to happen at the deadline, but for right now, I really like the Braves. NL Central, I got the Cards. I'm excited about Contreras. I think they got a great lineup and a good staff, and to be honest with you, similar to the AL East, I'm not impressed with really any other team in this division. I think the Brewers are and the Cubs are rebuilding. The Pirates are a joke. So yeah, no, I have the St. Louis Cardinals. And then lastly, you got the NL West, which it's a toss-up. I think both teams are very good in terms of the Dodgers and the Padres. But something about the World Series appearance tells me that there might be a little bit of a hangover for the Padres this year, and everyone's talking about big spending and Ohtani possibly. I'm gonna go the safe route and take the Dodgers. And so, listen, those are my picks. So shut the fuck up about it, all right? So let's, discuss lastly the rules around baseball that have obviously changed from last year to this year. First of all, they're keeping the ghost runner, which I think is a massive mistake. I don't know what we're doing. If you want to put them in the regular season in maybe the 14th inning and greater and later, then fine, that makes a little sense. But to have them right after the 9th inning, it ruins the momentum of the game, which way it was going, and all that stuff. I hate it. So that's my take on that. In terms of the bigger bases, I think it's a good thing. Hopefully, it'll cut down on some injuries. The pitch clock remains to be seen. I don't really know how I feel about it. I mean, if it makes the game quicker, good. But if there's going to be guys like Scherzer exploiting it and it's going to be only like benefiting the pitcher, that's going to be horrible for the sport. So that remains to be seen. I do think this isn't a new rule, but I think replay is ruining the sport as well because now you got guys who are hand off the bag for a second on a steal and they're like replaying the thing because it's just ruining the spirit of the game. If they get to the bag first, and I mean they're obviously safe. I don't care if his leg came up for a second, but that's that. Then you got the shift changing now, which seems like there's going to be a loophole where they're going to bring the left fielder into shallow right field and basically just make the shift where instead of the left fielder staying in left, there's just going to be no left fielder, but there's going to be a third baseman now. So I don't really know how I feel about that until I see it. And that's pretty much it. You got also that balk situation. They're going to be like emphasizing balks, and I've seen that on spring training. I think there's been a lot more balks than I've ever seen. Guys throwing over, then you get the base. I don't like in terms of. I think if you throw over 3 times on the 4th time or something, then you're given the base. I don't like that. That's stupid. I mean, how many times is the throw over really ruining something? So we'll see how much it's enforced. We'll see if it's good. We'll see if it's bad. But that's my thoughts on the New York Yankees season, the 2023 season. And I'm going to be posting a lot of content Yankees related this entire year. So buckle up, get ready, and hopefully there'll be great things to come. So let's hope we get 28. Let's hope Anthony Volpe has an incredible year and starts an amazing career and leads off tomorrow, his first at bat. He's not leading off, but he hits a home run on his first at bat. All right, baby? Let's go Yankees. Goodbye.